Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar and today we'll talk about cat bonds. What are these cat bonds? Has it anything to do with Katrina Kaif, ma'am? That's why it is known as cat. Now that's a stupid joke. See, understand one thing. These bonds, stocks, shares, bonds and shares, what are the difference? What is the basic difference between them? We have to understand. And we have to understand this article. Why? Because it published in Hindu on like 10 July 2025. Page number 10, a very technical article, very technical, very important from every exam perspective, especially UPSC. And via this article, we'll also understand, this article is why it's important. GS Mains Paper 3, Indian economy. Then GS Mains Paper 3, disaster management. What this article is talking about, this explainer, they say that when it comes to disaster management in India, what happens? Government, when disaster happens, they spend their own money in mitigating the impact of disaster, and all these things, post-disaster management, means all the post-disaster phase rather. And this article is saying that there's another way of dealing with that. Rather than government spending their own money, they should involve investors' money via cat bonds. That is, cat bond is not like Katrina Kaif ma'am's bond. It is catastrophe bond. What happens in this bond? Let's try to understand one by one what this article is all about. So generally, what is the basic rationale of a bond? How does bond work? How is bond different from a share? Or, let's first focus on bond. So let's say I want some money. I have a company. So I will issue a 1,000 rupee bond. Let's say I issued a 1,000 rupee bond. Created a paper and that I wrote it 1,000 rupee bond. So somebody bought it for rupees 1,000. I got that money 1,000 rupees. Now I can invest it in my sector, my company. Now what will happen? This 1,000 rupee bond, I issued it for let's say 10 years at 10% interest. In that scenario, every year I will give that person 10 rupees, means 100 rupees, because this is 10% interest. I have 1,000 rupees. So every year I have to give the interest amount 10% of 1,000 rupees, that is 100 every year for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, I have to return back the principal amount, which is rupees 1,000. That's how bond work. It is a debt instrument. I'm taking some loan from different entities. And here also, this article is talking about similar bond like cat bond, catastrophe bond. Indian government, rather than investing their own money in post-disaster phase for disaster mitigation and other work, they can take investor money. They can issue these catastrophe bond. So let's say they issued this catastrophe bond for 1,000 rupees. And 1,000 rupees, and then there will be an intermediary, let's say World Bank or Asian Development Bank, which will ensure that these bonds are going far and wide to different parts of the world, different investors. And then why different investors will buy this bond, catastrophe bond, and what are the different criteria which will be which will be a part of this bond. So again, it will be working like a simple bond, 1,000 rupee bond, let's say 10% interest. Same thing. So the person who will be buying this bond, they will be getting means 1,000 to 100 rupees every year. 1,000 rupees first year means 100 rupees first year, then 100 rupees second year. The interest amount 10% of 1,000. Hope you are understanding some part of it. Be with me. You will understand each and everything once we are done with this article. So 100 rupees for 10 years. If the maturity period is 10 years, at the end of the 10 years, he will get back his 1,000 rupee. But there is a caveat here. This is a catastrophe bond. It's a higher risk bond. So in this case, what will happen? The conditions are such that, let's say if a disaster happens within that 10-year maturity period, then the principal amount of 1,000, maybe the whole money will be taken by government or a part of it will be taken by government for disaster management. Hope you are understanding it. Because this is a catastrophe bond, so in this scenario, the risk is higher. The investor can lose his principal amount. Ideally, in a bond, an investor, he gets his principal amount back at the end of the maturity period. Here, the risk is higher. Now, what will happen then? The interest will be more. The 10% interest will not do. Now, in this scenario, government will have to give more interest to these investors, so they are incentivized to invest more in them. Hope you can understand. High risk, high reward. That's how you also invest in these mutual funds and SIPs. SIPs, equity SIPs, which gives you more return. They are high risk. You can lose also more. So again, let's try to understand first of all cat bonds, and then we will go into the intricacies of this article and how awesome this whole phenomena is. So what will happen in this bond? A government pay a premium to issue the bond. So this is a 1,000 rupee bond. Now intermediary, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, some other reinsurers, they will issue these bonds to investors. These intermediaries are needed so that the bond reaches far and wide. Fine. Now investors, they will receive high interest. So rather than 10%, they can get 20% of 1,000. So let's say 200 rupees every year. If the maturity period is 10 years, for 10 years, they will get 200 rupees interest. Now, If a disaster happens within the maturity period, the investor will lose part or all of their principal, unlike a conventional bond where they get their principal amount at the end of maturity period. So this is how CAT bond is different from, or catastrophe bond is different from, normal bond. Hope you're understanding what we are discussing here. And this is actually good because in like earlier scenarios, what used to happen, government is spending their whole money in these disaster management. Now investors' principal amount will be invested in disaster management, so to say, and government will have lesser money to invest directly in disaster management. Indian government will save some money that is actually need of the hour. So let's talk about it. While life insurance is common, disaster risk insurance is rare in India, and this catastrophe bond is one way of doing that. This leaves individual property and livelihoods exposed to losses as most assets remain uninsured. Again, you can see here, catastrophe bond is not a new phenomena. It's not like it has never happened before. Major hurricanes in US in the late 90s, insurer used cat bonds to spread disaster risk to global financial market. I don't know, when I say cat, I remember Katrina, ma'am. Okay, let's focus. There was a Katrina hurricane as well. So how cat bonds work? Sponsored by sovereign nations with an intermediary, that is World Bank, to issue the bond. We have talked about it, how it works. Let's understand one thing. If a disaster does not happen, then you will get back your principal amount. But if a disaster occurs, investor may lose part of the principal, justifying higher interest rate. So let's say you have invested 10,000 rupees and government needs 5,000 of that principal. So they will take 5,000. If they need all, they will take all the principal amount. The only thing is you have got the interest earlier. So it's not like you lose everything. But you're getting higher interest just because the risk is involved. Hope you can understand here. Cool, sir. So global status of cat bonds. Since their inception, $180 billion worth of cat bonds have been issued globally. They are working fine in US, and it's time now that India follow the lead. Rising climate related disaster. Now, sometimes that can happen. Understand, when India is issuing these bonds, so India has to pay, interest premium every month, every year. Interest 10%, 20%. So maybe it is more like it can be a huge amount for India, let's say. Then what India can also do is we can pool together different countries where we can include, or we can make a South Asia catastrophe bond where we can include different countries of South Asia or Southeast Asia, and that will help. In that scenario, we will not be only one who will be paying the interest amount. We can divide it among ourselves, and that can also help in pooling the resource, so to say. So cat bonds can help the government shield public finance and ensure quick post-disaster relief. In this scenario, if cat bonds are there, it's working fine. Not all the money, which like taxpayers' money, public money, will be going into disaster management. The private finance investors, their money will be going into these disaster management scenarios, and it's actually a win-win scenario for everyone. India's readiness. Now the question is, do we have that much amount of money to invest in cat bond? Yes. India, government has already allocated $1.8 billion annually for disaster mitigation. What we can also do, or what Indian government can do, is they can take away let's say $1 billion for disaster mitigation, $0.8 billion for these cat bonds. From these catastrophe bonds, they will get a lot of money from investors, and then they can invest this principal amounts in different disasters. Now there is another question. Let's say if a disaster does not happen, then the investor will get the interest plus the principal amount. That can be a huge risk for India, and that's why we are saying that we can pool it with other countries. India could sponsor a regional South Asian cat bond covering multi-country disaster events. Example, tsunami, earthquake, we can include, Nepal, they have these Himalayan earthquake, etc. We can include Sri Lanka. So that can help in reducing the premium risk, the interest risk which we have to cover. So benefits of a regional cat bond: spreads risk, reduce premium cost, and if we have the South Asian cat bond, so to say, then hope you understood. India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, everybody will be contributing to the interest which will be going to the investors. Could cover high risk events across Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Maldives, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. And here where the international relation part comes into picture. So this particular article has implications from both economic perspective, international relation perspective, disaster management perspective as well. Now, risk and challenges of cat bonds. Poorly designed cat bonds may not pay out despite major damage. Now, let's try to understand. So there will be so many terms and conditions which will be there in this cat bond. That cat bond principal amount will be only taken out, let's say, when a magnitude or earthquake of magnitude 6 happened. Let's say earthquake of magnitude 5.9 happened, then government cannot take out the principal amount, because even though disaster or the impact of disaster was felt. So this is one point. Poorly designed cat bonds may not pay out despite major damage. Example, magnitude just below threshold. Lack of disasters can raise concern about the cost effectiveness of premium. So government is paying interest after interest every year. If a disaster does not happen, the principal amount will also be paid back to the investor after the maturity period. What is government gaining? They have lost a lot of money in the premium thing, right? So if disaster does not happen, if disaster happen, then government will be helped to a certain extent. So that is second point. So lack of disaster can raise concern. So conclusion, with proactive planning and financial instruments like cat bonds, India and South Asia can become more resilient to disasters that could reduce our reliance on public finance when it comes to disaster management. So when you even read disaster management from GS Mains paper 3 perspective, they talk about solutions, we talk about NDMA guidelines, National Disaster Management Authority guidelines. We can also talk about this cat bond as a solution, right? So awesome article. Hope you understood some part of it. If you understood it, you can post it in the comment section that you understood it. And this was the summary which we have discussed at the start. Now let's solve some questions. This is MCQ in front of you people. And yes, one more thing which I did not tell you, why people will be incentivized. Unlike any normal bonds or equity or SIP or mutual funds, which are related to market, how market is performing. Based on that small cap fund, mid cap fund, large cap fund, these are companies and how they are performing. You will get the money, you will get the interest. Here, these catastrophe funds, they are not related to how market is performing. It's all about whether disaster is happening or not happening. If disaster is happening, some amount of your principal or all will be gone, but you will get the premium. If it doesn't happen, it's a win-win scenario for all. You as well as other people also, right? Not for government. So yes, based on that, now try to solve this question. Second MCQ, which of the following is a correct distinction between bondholders and shareholders? Like bondholder, who are they? They are the people who are giving you a loan to a company or an entity. Shareholders, they are actually the owners. So whatever is left after paying these bondholders, shareholders will be sharing the profit among themselves. So based on that, again, if you know it, solve it. Try to solve it. Don't worry about it. So we have discussed bondholder and shareholders. Even in the case of liquidation, shareholders get the money at the end because they are the owners. Bondholders will have the first say. Shareholders are in a way seen as the owner. And again, I have told you all the things. So you can try this question. Tricky question. Even if you're getting it wrong, don't worry about it. I will share the answer of this, like this PDF along with the answer of these MCQs in my Telegram channel, Fun Study with Shubh. So if you have not joined this Telegram family of mine, you can join it. And yes, sir, if you're preparing for 26, 27 or 28 UPSC and you feel like there are certain areas where you can improve, there are certain areas where you're lacking confidence, you don't have proper notes of economy, history, polity, geography, any subject, anything, you need mentorship, you need test series, you need to see competition, you need to see your peer group, so many things, you can join our batch. When it comes to 2026 July batch, classes run from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It has started from 7th July. Admissions are closing for that batch on 15 July 2025. And currently orientation session, etc. going on. So if you have even missed one or two classes, you can always watch the recorded version of it. And join the batch. See, this whole thing price is starting at 9,999. Now the prices have increased. There are different variants of this 2026 batch. The batch which was earlier costing 9,999, now it is costing 10,999. So maybe 2-3 days after it will increase more. So if you want to join it right now. This is the perfect time. July, and you'll be giving your pre in May. So you have 10 months and this is a time when you have to prepare for your mains, your optional. So everything has to be planned out. So in that regard, join it. And if you have watched my earlier videos, you know how to join any batch. If you don't, let me show you from the start. You will go to StudyIQ.com. You can also download StudyIQ app from Google Play Store. It's totally up to you. And in StudyIQ.com, you will go downwards. You will go to all languages. You will go to English. And this is for 2026 tab. This is a 27 tab. This is 28 tab. So 2026, you will go to resolution batch. And you will buy now. Before buy now, you can see the features. Because there will be 3 variants of this batch. In one variant, you will get all these features, 1,000 hours study and mentorship, 75 plus prelims test, material, study material. You don't have to look for anything. MRP for people who will be clearing UPSC pre 2026, they will be living together. IGP, you will be guided by retired Anil Swarup sir, who is a retired IAS officer. And 11,000 reward if you're a monthly top performer. Full fee refund. If you clear UPSC pre 2026, we'll initiate full refund for you. So all these things are there. And then you can go to buy now. You will see 3 different variants, diamond, platinum and gold. And you're seeing the prices will reduce once you apply my code SHS Live by 7,000 for each of these variant. And in diamond, you have all the features which we have discussed earlier. And any query for any of these courses, you can call on this number. Diamond. And let's see how the prices will reduce. If you apply my coupon code, that is SHS Live, so diamond reduced to 7,000. Again, same. Platinum will become 24,999. Gold will become 10,999. You can see here. And diamond, all features. Platinum, some of the features will not be there. You can see if you don't want scholarship, etc., you can take platinum. If you feel like you just need classes, recorded videos, and the notes, you can take gold, and those features are there. So again, based on your requirement, where you are at in your UPSC preparation, what do you want? You can take these classes. As I've told you earlier, 2-3 days back, gold was priced at 9,999. Now the price has increased to 10,999. So it's totally up to you which particular batch you want to belong to, and you can join it. After that, you have to just do the buy now part. Cool, sir. So that is the whole process, how you can join these batches. If you have any queries, I have told you the number 9240231070. You can call on that number. If you have any view on this CAT bond, feel free to share it in the comment section. And if you know the answer of those 2 MCQs, then also share your answer in the comment section. Take care, be blessed. I will see you soon.